Jake Harrison sat in his command chair, staring at the main screen. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he barely noticed. Outside the space station windows, Earth looked peaceful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green lands. It was hard to believe that everything was about to change. Commander Harrison called out Lieutenant Amy Foster from her station. "We're getting something strange on the long-range scanners." Jake turned toward her. Amy was young, maybe 25, with short blonde hair and sharp green eyes. She had been working the night shift for 3 years and never made mistakes. "What kind of strange?" Jake asked. "Big ships, sir, really big. They just appeared at the edge of our solar system." Amy's voice was steady, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. Jake stood up and walked over to her station. The scanner showed dozens of dots moving slowly toward Earth. Each dot was massive, bigger than anything humans had ever built. "How many?" Jake asked. "Still counting, sir. At least 50. Maybe more." Jake felt his stomach drop. In all his years with the Earth Defense Force, he had never seen anything like this. Humans had been alone in space for as long as anyone could remember. Now, suddenly, they were not. "Sound the alert," Jake ordered. "Get me a line to Earth Command." Red lights began flashing throughout the station. People ran to their posts. Jake walked back to his chair and pressed a button on his armrest. "This is Commander Harrison calling Earth Command. We have a situation." The screen flickered, and General Kevin Murphy appeared. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. Jake had known him for 15 years. "Jake, what's going on up there?" "Sir, we have unknown ships approaching Earth. Large ones. They appeared without warning at the edge of our solar system." General Murphy's face went pale. "How many ships?" "At least 50, sir. They're moving toward us." "Any attempts at communication?" "Not yet, sir. They're still too far away." General Murphy was quiet for a moment. "Keep watching them, Jake. I'm calling an emergency meeting of the Global Defense Council. If these are visitors, we need to be ready." The screen went dark. Jake looked around his command center. Everyone was working fast, checking systems and preparing for anything. He had trained for this moment his whole career, but now that it was here, he felt scared. Hours passed. The alien ships kept coming closer. Jake watched the scanners and waited. Finally, Amy called out again. "Commander, they're trying to talk." "To us. Put it on the main screen." The image that appeared made everyone in the room step back. The alien was tall and thin, with gray skin and forearms. Its eyes were black and cold. When it spoke, its voice was like metal scraping on stone. "I am Admiral Kethvor of the Zephyrian Collective. You will listen." Jake stood up straight. This was it. First contact with an alien species. He had dreamed of this moment since he was a child, but not like this. "This is Commander Jake Harrison of the Earth Defense Force. We're listening." The alien's mouth moved in what might have been a smile, but there was no warmth in it. "Your species has been found. You will surrender all resources. You will provide workers for our empire. You will obey without question. This is not a request." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "And if we refuse? Then you will be destroyed. Every man, woman, and child on your world will die. Your cities will burn. Your oceans will boil. Nothing will remain." The alien paused, letting the words sink in. "You have 72 hours to decide. Choose wisely." The screen went dark. Jake stood there for a long moment, not moving. Around him, his crew was silent. Finally, he spoke. "Get me Dr. Lisa Rodriguez. Now." Lisa Rodriguez was Earth's top expert on space and alien life. She had been studying the possibility of other intelligent species for 20 years. If anyone could help them understand these aliens, it was her. The screen flickered, and Lisa appeared. She was a woman in her 40s, with dark hair and intelligent brown eyes. She looked tired but alert. "Jake, I saw the transmission. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Lisa, but we need your help. What do you know about these Zephyrians?" Lisa was quiet. For a moment. "I've been studying their language patterns and ship designs." "Jake, these aren't explorers or traders. They're conquerors." "I think they've done this before." "What do you mean?" "The way they spoke, the way they made demands. This is a routine. For them, they've probably conquered hundreds of worlds." Jake felt sick. "So what do we do?" "We need to buy time. I need to study them more. There has to be a weakness. 72 hours, Lessa. That's all we have." "Then I better get started." The screen went dark again. Jake looked out at Earth, so beautiful and peaceful. In less than 3 days, it might all be gone. He pressed another button on his chair. "Get me President Claire Bennett. Tell her we need to talk. Now." While he waited, Jake thought about his daughter Sarah. She was only 8 years old, living with her mother. In California. Would she even have a chance to grow up? A screen lit up with President Bennett's face. She was a strong woman in her 50s, with silver hair and determined eyes. "Commander Harrison, I've been briefed on the situation. What are your recommendations?" Jake took a deep breath. "Madam President, I think we need to prepare for war." "Against ships that size?" "Jake, be realistic." "Ma'am, I've seen bullies before. They pick on people they think are weak. Maybe it's time to show them they're wrong." President Bennett was quiet. For a long moment. "I'll call an emergency session of the Global Defense Council. We'll have an answer for these aliens." "What kind of answer?" President Bennett's eyes were hard as steel. "The kind that shows them what happens when you threaten." Earth. Jake smiled for the first time in hours. Maybe they had a chance after all. The alien ships arrived exactly when they said they would. Jake Harrison watched from his command center as the massive fleet moved into position around Earth. Each ship was the size of a small city, dark metal gleaming in the sunlight. Status. Report. Jake called out. Lieutenant Amy Foster looked up from her station. 57 ships confirmed, sir. They're spreading out in a sphere around Earth. Jake nodded. The past 3 days had been the busiest of his life. Every nation on Earth had worked together for the first time in history. Military leaders, scientists, and politicians had shared everything they knew. "Any word from Earth Command?" "Yes, sir. General Murphy says all defenses are ready. The moon bases are armed and waiting." Jake looked at the main screen. The alien ships hung there like dark clouds, blocking out the stars. Soon, those ships would start shooting. He wondered how many. People would die in the first hour. "Commander," called out Sergeant Danny Roberts from the engineering station. "I've got something weird on the sensors." Danny was a short man with curly red hair and thick glasses. He had been with the station for 2 years, fixing everything that broke. He was also the smartest engineer Jake had ever met. "What is it?" "Danny, I've been watching the alien ships, sir. Their shields are different from what we expected." Jake walked over to Danny's station. The screen showed lines of energy flowing around the alien ships like invisible bubbles. "Different how?" "They're using a rotating frequency, sir. Like a radio that keeps changing channels. I think I know why." "Go on." "Most shields stay on one frequency. That makes them strong against certain weapons. But these shields change every few seconds. It makes them harder to hit." Jake felt a spark of hope. "But if they're changing frequencies, there must be a pattern, right?" Danny smiled. "That's what I thought, sir. I've been recording their shield patterns for 2 days. I think I can predict when they'll be weakest." Before Jake could respond, the alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Incoming transmission, Amy announced. Admiral Kethvar appeared on the screen again. The alien looked the same as before, cold and emotionless. Your time is up, humans. What is your answer? Jake straightened up. 3 days ago, he had been scared. Now he was angry. He had listened to the recordings of President Bennett's speech to the world. He had heard the stories of every nation coming together. He had seen humanity prepare to fight as one. Our answer is no, Jake said clearly. We will not surrender. We will not become your slaves. Earth stands free. The alien's black eyes seemed to grow darker. Then you have chosen death. Your species will be remembered as fools. Maybe, Jake said, but at least we'll be remembered as free fools. The screen went dark. Jake turned to his crew. This is it, people. They're going to start shooting soon. Everyone knows their job. Let's show these aliens what humans can do. The first shots came 10 minutes later. Beams of red energy lanced out from the alien ships toward Earth's orbital defenses. The space station shook as nearby targets exploded. Luna Base is under attack. Amy shouted over the noise. Jake watched the main screen as the moon base tried to fight back. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Walker was in command there, a tough man with 20 years of military experience. His guns fired back at the alien ships, but the shots bounced off their shields. Danny, how's that pattern analysis coming? Almost got it, sir. Give me 2 more minutes. Another explosion shook the station. This one was closer. Jake saw one of Earth's defense satellites break apart in a shower of sparks. Commander Patricia Hill is requesting support, Amy reported. The asteroid mining stations are taking heavy fire. Jake clenched his fists. Patricia was one of the bravest people he knew. She had volunteered to turn the mining stations into weapons platforms, even though she knew it was probably a suicide mission. Tell her to hold on. Help is coming. But Jake wasn't sure if that was true. The alien ships were destroying everything humans had built in space. Earth's defenses were melting away like ice in the sun. Got it, Danny yelled suddenly. I've got their pattern. Jake ran to Danny's station. The screen showed a complex graph with peaks and valleys. Every 47 seconds, their shields drop to 60% power for exactly 3 seconds, Danny explained. If we time our shots perfectly, we can get through. Jake grabbed the communication device. This is Commander Harrison to all units. We have a solution. Prepare for coordinated attack. He explained Danny's discovery to every ship and station in the area. The response was immediate. Captain Nicole Johnson, commanding a group of converted cargo ships, was the first to respond. Roger that, Commander. We're ready to try. Jake watched the countdown on Danny's screen. 47 seconds. 46. 45. All units, prepare to fire. Jake ordered. The seconds crawled by. Jake held his breath. Fire! 20 human ships fired at the same moment. Most of their shots still bounced off the alien shields. But 3 beams got through. They hit one of the smaller alien ships, and it exploded in a bright flash. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then the alien ships started moving faster, their shots becoming more accurate. They were angry now. They're targeting us specifically, Amy warned. Jake nodded. The aliens had noticed their station was coordinating the attack. Now they wanted to destroy it. Danny, can you give us another opening? Working on it, sir. But they're changing their pattern. They know we figured it out. More explosions rocked the station. Jake saw Luna Base take a direct hit. Part of the moon base went dark. Steve, come in. Steve, are you there? Lieutenant Colonel Walker's voice crackled through the communication system. Still here, Jake, but we're hurt bad. Lost half our guns. Can you hold on? We'll try. Jake looked around his command center. His people were working as hard as they could, But the alien ships kept coming. For every shot that got through their shields, the aliens fired back 100 times. "Sir," Amy said quietly, "I'm getting reports from Earth. They're hitting the cities." Jake's heart sank. He looked at the main screen and saw beams of red light striking the planet below. Somewhere down there, his daughter Sarah was hiding in a bunker with her mother. "Danny, I need that pattern." "I'm trying, sir." "But they're adapting faster than I expected." Another explosion, closer this time. Jake could hear metal tearing somewhere in the station. "Commander," Amy called out, "Captain Johnson is requesting permission to ram the alien command ship." Jake closed his eyes. Nicole Johnson was offering to sacrifice herself and her crew for one chance to hurt the aliens. "Tell her to wait. We're not giving up yet." But as Jake watched the alien ships continue their attack, he wondered if they had any choice. The aliens were too strong, too advanced. Maybe humanity's only option was to make their deaths mean something. "Sir," Danny said suddenly, "I've got something. It's not their shields, but it might work." "What is it?" "Their ships are connected, sir. They're sharing power through some kind of network. If we could overload that network, ... double quotes." Jake looked at the screen. Danny was right. Energy was flowing between the alien ships like a web. "How do we overload it?" Danny smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. "We'd need to cause a massive power surge. Something big enough to disrupt their whole system." "What kind of power surge?" "The kind that would probably destroy everything in the area, sir. Including us." Jake stared at the screen. It was a suicide mission. But if it worked, it might give Earth a chance. "How long do you need?" 10 minutes to set it up, sir." Jake nodded. "Do it." As Danny worked, Jake thought about his daughter again. Maybe she would never know what happened up here. But maybe, just maybe, she would live to grow up because of it. The power surge plan failed. Danny Roberts had tried everything, but the alien ships were too well protected. The energy network between their ships was stronger than anything humans had seen before. Jake Harrison watched from his damaged command center as more alien ships appeared. The first wave had been just the beginning. Now hundreds of dark ships filled the space around Earth. "Commander," Amy Foster reported, her voice tired, "Earth Command is going underground. Most of the surface defenses are gone." Jake nodded. It had been 6 hours since the attack began. Half of Earth's orbital stations were destroyed. The moon base was barely holding on. The asteroid mining stations had gone silent one by one. What about the cities? New York, London, and Tokyo have taken heavy damage. But most people got to the underground shelters in time. Jake was glad to hear that. 3 days ago, every major city on Earth had started moving people into deep bunkers. It was the largest evacuation in human history. Any word from Dr. Rodriguez? She's in the Colorado bunker with the emergency government, still working on Project Prometheus. Jake wondered what Project Prometheus was. It had been classified above his level. All he knew was that Dr. Lisa Rodriguez had been working on it for the past 3 days with a team of scientists. "Sir," called out Sergeant Frank Mitchell from the weapons station. "I've got Captain Nathan Price on the communication system. He says he's got a crazy idea." Jake walked over to Frank's station. Nathan Price was the captain of the cargo ship Liberty. He had been fighting the aliens for hours with a ship that was never meant for combat. Put him through. Nathan's face appeared on the screen. He was a young man with black hair and a scar on his left cheek. His ship had taken damage, but he was still smiling. "Jake, I've been watching these alien ships. I think I know how to capture one." "Capture one?" "Nathan, we can barely scratch their shields." "That's just it. I don't want to fight their shields. I want to get inside them." Jake frowned. "How?" "Their ships have docking ports. I've been watching them launch smaller ships for ground attacks. When they dock, the shields have to open for a few seconds. So I'm going to ram my ship into their docking port just as it opens. If I'm fast enough, I can get inside their shields. Jake stared at the screen. Nathan, that's suicide. Even if you get inside, you'll be alone on an alien ship with thousands of enemies. Not alone, Nathan said. I've got 20 volunteers with me, Marines who want to see what's inside these ships. What about your crew? Already evacuated to the escape pods. This is just me and the Marines now. Jake wanted to say no. Nathan was a good man, and Jake didn't want to lose him. But they needed information about the aliens. If Nathan could get inside one of their ships, he might learn something useful. Which ship are you targeting? That big one, Nathan said, pointing. It looks like a command ship. If we're going to do this, we might as well go for the important one. Jake took a deep breath. Good luck, Nathan. Thanks, Jake. If this works, I'll try to send you everything I can learn. The screen went dark. Jake watched as Nathan's ship accelerated toward the alien command vessel. It was a small cargo ship against a ship the size of a mountain. He's crazy, Amy said quietly. Yeah, Jake agreed. But maybe that's what we need. They watched Nathan's ship dodge alien fire as it approached the command vessel. Red beams of energy missed it by inches. Then, just as a smaller alien ship was docking, Nathan's ship slammed into the docking port. For a moment, nothing happened. Then there was a flash of light from inside the alien ship. Nathan, come in, Jake called on the communication system. Static. Then Nathan's voice, faint and broken. We're in, Jake, but the ship is huge. We're going to need time to find anything useful. How much time? I don't know. Maybe an hour, maybe less. Jake looked at the alien fleet. They were preparing something big. More ships were moving into position around Earth. Nathan, I don't think we have an hour. Then we better work fast. The communication went dead. Jake hoped Nathan and his Marines would find something, anything, that could help. Commander, Amy said urgently, I'm getting reports from Earth. The aliens are preparing to use some kind of planet-killer weapon. Jake felt his blood turn cold. How do you know? Dr. Rodriguez figured it out. She's been studying their transmissions. The aliens are about to destroy Earth completely. Jake stared at the main screen. The alien ships were moving into a new formation, creating a circle around Earth. In the center of the circle, a massive ship was charging up some kind of weapon. How long do we have? Maybe 30 minutes. Jake closed his eyes. 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, everything would be over. Earth would be gone. Every person he had ever known would be dead. Sir, called out Danny Roberts. I'm getting something from Dr. Rodriguez. She says Project Prometheus is ready. What is it? I don't know, sir. But she's asking for volunteers. Jake opened his eyes. Volunteers for what? She won't say over the communication system. Too dangerous. But she needs people who are willing to sacrifice everything. Jake thought about his daughter Sarah. She was 8 years old, hiding in a bunker somewhere on Earth. If Dr. Rodriguez had a plan to save her, Jake would do anything. Tell her she's got her volunteers, whatever she needs. Sir, she's asking for your permission to broadcast on all frequencies. Give it to her. The main screen flickered, and Dr. Lisa Rodriguez appeared. She was in a deep underground bunker, surrounded by strange equipment. She looked tired but determined. This is Dr. Rodriguez, speaking to all humans in space and on Earth. In 20 minutes, the aliens will destroy our planet. But we have one chance to stop them. Jake leaned forward. What do you need, Lisa? I need every human who is willing to join their mind to a network. It's dangerous. Some of you might not survive, but it's the only way to activate Project Prometheus. What does Project Prometheus do? It sends a pulse of pure human thought across the galaxy. Our creativity, our chaos, our refusal to give up. The aliens can't understand it, and it disrupts their technology. Jake didn't understand how it worked, but he understood what Lisa was asking. She needed volunteers to link their minds together, even if it killed them. "I'll do it," Jake said. "So will I," Amy added. "Count me in." Then he said dot around the command center. Every person raised their hand. They were all willing to die for Earth. "Thank you," Lisa said. "Connect to the network now. We have 15 minutes. Jake put on the neural headset that Danny handed him. As soon as it activated, he felt other minds connecting to his. Amy was there, and Danny, and Frank Mitchell. But there were also thousands of others. People from all over Earth and space, all linking together. 10 minutes, Lisa announced. Jake could feel the network growing stronger. It was like having a conversation with the entire human race at once. He felt their fear, their anger, their desperate hope. 5 minutes. The alien planet killer weapon was almost ready. Jake could see it charging up on the main screen, getting brighter and brighter. "Nathan, are you there?" Jake called out. Nathan's voice came through the communication system, weak, but clear. "I'm here, Jake. We found their command center. I'm sending you everything we learned. Nathan, get out of there. The weapon is about to fire." "Can't do that, Jake. We're trapped." "But we got what we came for." Jake felt tears in his eyes. Nathan and his Marines were going to die, but their sacrifice might save Earth. 1 minute, Lisa announced. "Activating Project Prometheus now." Jake felt something incredible happen. The network of human minds reached out across space like a wave. It was every human thought, every human dream, every human refusal to give up. The wave hit the alien ships just as they fired their planet killer weapon. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The red beam of energy shot toward Earth, ready to destroy everything. Then the alien ships started to shake. Their perfect formation broke apart as their systems began to fail. The planet killer beam flickered and died. "It worked," Lisa whispered. It actually worked. But Jake could feel something wrong in the network. The effort was too much. People were dying, their minds burning out from the strain. "Lisa, shut it down," Jake ordered. "I can't. The pulse needs to reach their home system. If we stop now, it won't work." Jake understood. The human network had to keep going, even if it killed them all. They had to make sure the aliens could never do this to another world. He felt his own mind starting to fade as the network drew more power. Around him, his crew was collapsing one by one. "Jake," Amy said weakly, "tell my family I love them." "I will," Jake promised, though he wasn't sure he would survive to keep that promise. The network pulsed one final time, sending its message across the galaxy. And everything went dark. Jake Harrison woke up 3 days later in a hospital bed on Earth. His head felt like it was full of cotton, and his body ached everywhere, but he was alive. "Commander Harrison?" A nurse with kind eyes was checking his pulse. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck," Jake said, his voice rough. "What happened?" "You were in a neural shock coma for 3 days. You're lucky to be alive. Many people who joined the network didn't make it." Jake's heart sank. "How many?" "About 30% of the volunteers died, but their sacrifice saved Earth." Jake tried to sit up, but the room spun around him. "The aliens? Gone. Well, mostly gone. Dr. Rodriguez wants to talk to you when you're feeling better." Jake closed his eyes and tried to remember what had happened. The network, the pulse, the feeling of every human mind connected as one. It had been beautiful and terrifying at the same time. My crew? Amy Foster is 2 rooms down. She's awake and asking for you. Danny Roberts is still unconscious, but the doctors say he'll be fine." Jake felt relief wash over him. His people had survived. 2 hours later, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez came to see him. She looked older than she had a week ago, with gray streaks in her hair that hadn't been there before. "Jake, how are you feeling?" "Like I've been turned inside out." "Lisa, what exactly did we do?" Lisa sat down in the chair next to his bed. "We sent a pulse of pure human consciousness across the galaxy. It was like a virus that infected every alien system it touched. I don't understand. The Zephyrians were a hive mind, Jake. They all thought the same way, acted the same way. They couldn't handle the chaos of human thought. Our creativity, our randomness, our ability to think in ways that don't make sense." Jake nodded slowly. "So we broke their systems?" "More than that. We broke their minds. The pulse didn't just affect their ships. It affected them personally. Many of them went insane trying to process human thoughts." "And the other species they conquered?" Lisa smiled for the first time since Jake had known her. "That's the best part. The pulse woke them up. For thousands of years, the Zephyrians had kept other species under control by suppressing their individual thoughts. But our pulse broke that control." "What do you mean?" "Rebellions, Jake, all across the galaxy. The Zephyrians are fighting wars on hundreds of worlds. Species that had been slaves for centuries suddenly remembered what freedom felt like." Jake felt a spark of hope. "Are we winning? Or not fighting alone anymore?" "Captain Roger Stone made contact with us yesterday." Jake was confused. "Roger Stone? I thought he was dead." "We all did. His ship was reported destroyed in the first attack. But he survived and somehow got behind enemy lines. He's been working with rebel groups in Zephyrian space. What did he learn?" Lisa's expression grew serious. "The Zephyrians are falling apart. Jake, their empire is collapsing, but they're not giving up. They're pulling back to their home system for one final attack on Earth." Jake felt his heart sink. How many ships? 1,000? Maybe more. Every ship they have left. When? 3 months. Maybe less. Jake closed his eyes. 3 months to prepare for the biggest battle in human history. 3 months to get ready for the aliens' final revenge. What about our fleet? We're rebuilding as fast as we can. But Jake, we're not just rebuilding human ships. We have allies now. What kind of allies? Lisa smiled again. Remember the species that rebelled? Some of them are coming to help us. The Krillians, the Vortani, the hegemony of free worlds. They're all sending ships to Earth. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. So we won't be alone. No, we won't be alone. But Jake, there's something else. Something Captain Stone discovered about the Zephyrians. What? They're not just angry about losing their empire. They're scared. The pulse we sent didn't just wake up their slaves. It changed the Zephyrians. Themselves. Jake frowned. Changed them how? Some of them are starting to think individually. For the first time in their history, some Zephyrians are questioning their leaders. They're having thoughts that don't match the hive mind. Is that good or bad? I don't know. But it means they're more desperate than ever. They'll do anything to stop the spread of individual thought. Jake was quiet for a moment. Lisa, do you think we can win? I think we have to. Not just for Earth, but for every species in the galaxy. We started something when we sent that pulse. We gave the galaxy a taste of freedom. Now we have to protect it. A week later, Jake was back in space. The doctors had cleared him for duty, though they warned him to take it easy. The neural network had done permanent damage to his brain, but he was still able to function. His new command ship was called the Freedom. It was twice the size of his old space station, built with technology shared by their alien allies. The ship had weapons he didn't understand, and shields that could stop almost anything. "Commander," called out Captain Nicole Johnson from the pilot's seat. She had survived the first battle and volunteered to serve as his second-in-command. "We're getting reports from the outer system." "What kind of reports?" "Scout ships. The Zephyrians are sending advance teams to study our defenses." Jake nodded. The final battle was getting closer. Every day, more alien ships arrived to help defend Earth. Strange creatures from distant worlds, all united by their hatred of the Zephyrians. "Any word from Colonel Mitchell?" Frank Mitchell was now leading the ground defenses on Earth. He had survived the neural network and been promoted to colonel. His job was to protect the planet if the space battle failed. "He says the underground cities are ready. If we can't stop the Zephyrians in space, Earth can survive underground for years." Jake hoped it wouldn't come to that. The thought of his daughter Sarah living her whole life in a bunker made him angry. "Commander," interrupted Lieutenant Danny Roberts. He had recovered from his coma and was now Jake's chief engineer. "I've got something interesting on the sensors." "What is it?" "A single Zephyrian ship. It's not attacking. It's just sitting at the edge of the system, broadcasting a message." Jake felt his stomach tighten. "Put it on the main screen." The alien that appeared was different from Admiral Kethver. This one looked younger, and its black eyes seemed less cold. "I am Sub-Commander Vex Thani of the Zephyrian Collective. I request permission to speak with your leaders." Jake was surprised. The aliens had never asked for permission before. They had always just taken what they wanted. "This is Commander Harrison." "What do you want?" "I want to warn you. The Collective is coming with everything they have. They will destroy Earth and every world that has rebelled against them." "Why are you telling us this?" The alien was quiet for a moment. "Because I have been infected by your pulse. I can think for myself now, and I think the Collective is wrong." Jake stared at the screen. This was the first Zephyrian to speak against their own people. "What do you want from us?" "I want to help you stop them. I know their plans, their weaknesses. In exchange, I ask for asylum on your world." Jake thought about, could they trust this alien? Or was it a trap? "I'll need to discuss this with my superiors." "You have very little time, Commander. The main fleet will arrive in 6 weeks. The screen went dark. Jake looked around at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for his decision. "Danny, what do you think?" "I think we need all the help we can get, sir, even if it comes from an enemy." "Nicole?" "I agree. If this alien can help us save Earth, we should listen." Jake nodded. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have a Zephyrian defector who wants to help. And tell them the main fleet will be here in 6 weeks." As his crew worked to carry out his orders, Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the largest alien fleet in history was heading toward Earth. In 6 weeks, they would arrive for the final battle dot, but for the first time since this all began, Jake felt like they might actually win. They had all eyes now, they had hope, and they had proven that even the most powerful empire in the galaxy could be defeated by the power of free thought. The question was, would it be enough? 6 months had passed since the Zephyrian fleet arrived for their final attack. Now Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking out at something he never thought he would see, that the Zephyrian Empire was gone. "Commander," called out Captain Nicole Johnson, "we're getting surrender requests from the last 3 Zephyrian ships." Jake nodded. "Accept their surrender. Make sure they're treated well." It had been the strangest war in human history. The Zephyrians had arrived with over 1,000 ships, ready to destroy Earth and every world that had rebelled against them. But they found something they didn't expect, a galaxy united against them. Sub-Commander Vex Thani had been telling the truth. The information he provided had helped Earth's allies prepare for the final battle. But even more important, his defection had inspired other Zephyrians to question their leaders. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Danny Roberts from his station, "I'm getting a message from Admiral Kethfor. He wants to speak with you personally." Jake was surprised. Kethfor had been captured 3 months ago when his command ship was disabled. He had been held on Earth while the war continued around the galaxy. Put him through. The alien's face appeared on the main screen. Kethfor looked different now. His black eyes seemed tired, and he moved more slowly than before. "Commander Harrison, I have a request." "What kind of request?" "I want to formally surrender the Zephyrian Collective to the Galactic Freedom Coalition." Jake stared at the screen. The Galactic Freedom Coalition was the name for the alliance of free worlds that had formed during the war. Earth was one of the founding members, along with dozens of species that had been freed from Zephyrian control. "You're surrendering your entire empire?" "What empire?" Kethfor asked bitterly. "Half of my people have been infected by your pulse. They think for themselves now. They refuse to follow orders. The other half are fighting civil wars on 100 worlds." Jake felt a mix of satisfaction and pity. The Zephyrians had been cruel conquerors, but seeing their civilization collapse was still sad. "What do you want from us?" "Peace, protection for the Zephyrians who want to change, and help rebuilding our worlds." Jake was quiet for a moment. "That's not my decision to make. You'll need to speak with the Coalition Council." "I understand. But I wanted to ask you something first." "What? How did you know it would work?" "How did you know that one pulse of human thought could destroy an empire that lasted 10,000 years?" Jake thought about the question. "We didn't know. We were just desperate. We tried the only thing we could think of. But why did it work?" "Because you forgot something important. Every intelligent species has the right to think for themselves. You took that away from people for thousands of years. When we gave it back to them, they remembered what freedom felt like." Kethfor was quiet for a long moment. "In my culture, we have a saying, 'The strongest tree falls hardest.' I think we were that tree." The screen went dark. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was smiling. After months of war, it was finally over. "Commander," Amy Foster called out from her station. She had recovered from the neural network and been promoted to lieutenant commander. "We're getting a message from Earth. President Bennett wants to speak with you." Jake straightened up. President. Claire Bennett had led Earth through the entire war. She had made the hard decisions and kept humanity united when everything seemed hopeless. "Put her through." President Bennett appeared on the screen. She looked older than she had a year ago, but her eyes were still strong and determined. "Jake, congratulations. You and your crew have done something incredible. Thank you, Madam President. But we couldn't have done it alone." "I know. That's why I'm calling. The Coalition Council has a job offer for you." Jake was surprised. "What kind of job?" "Ambassador. We need someone to represent Earth in the new galactic government. Someone who understands both humans and aliens." Jake thought about it. He had spent his whole career in the military. The idea of being a diplomat was strange. What would I have to do? Help write the laws for the new galaxy. Make sure all species are treated fairly. Prevent another empire like the Zephyrians from rising. It sounded like important work. But Jake thought about his daughter Sarah. She was 9 years old now, and he had barely seen her during the war. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. Take all the time you need." The screen went dark. Jake walked to the window and looked out at the stars. A year ago, he had been just another space station commander. Now he was being offered a chance to help shape the future of the galaxy. "Commander," Danny said quietly, "there's something you should see." Jake walked over to Danny's station. The screen showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of colored dots representing different worlds. What am I looking at? Every world that's been freed from the Zephyrians, sir. Green dots are species that have joined the coalition. Blue dots are worlds that are rebuilding. Red dots are places where they're still fighting. Jake looked at the map. Most of the dots were green or blue. Only a few are still red. How many species total? 437, sir. All free for the first time in centuries. Jake felt a sense of pride. Humanity had done this. One small species from a tiny planet had freed almost 1,000 worlds. Danny, put me through to Dr. Rodriguez. Lisa Rodriguez appeared on the screen. She was back on Earth, working on new projects for the Coalition. She looked happier than Jake had ever seen her. Jake, how does it feel to be the hero of the galaxy? I'm not a hero, Lisa. We all did this together. That's what makes you a hero. You never forgot that this was bigger than just one person. Or one species. Jake smiled. Lisa, I need to ask you something. Do you think it will last? This peace we've built? Lisa was quiet for a moment. I think it will last because we built it the right way. Not through conquest or force, but through cooperation. Every species in the Coalition chose to be here. And the Zephyrians? The ones who want to change will be welcome. The ones who don't will be left alone on their remaining worlds. But they'll never be able to threaten anyone again. Jake nodded. It seemed fair. Lisa, there's something else. They want me to be an ambassador. That's wonderful. You'd be perfect for it. But what about Sarah? I've been away from her for almost a year. Lisa smiled. Jake, you saved her world. You saved her future. She understand. After the call ended, Jake stood alone on his bridge, thinking. He looked at a picture of Sarah that he kept on his command chair. She had her mother's eyes and his stubborn chin. Commander, Amy said softly, there's one more message for you. Who from? Your daughter. Jake's heart jumped. Put her through. Sarah's face appeared on the screen. She looked so much older than when he had last seen her. War had a way of making everyone grow up fast. Hi, Daddy. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I'm good. Mommy told me about the war. She said you saved everyone. Jake felt tears in his eyes. I had a lot of help. Daddy, are you coming home? Soon, sweetheart. Very soon. Good. I have something to show you. What is it? Sarah held up a drawing. It showed stick figures of different colors, holding hands around a circle. In the center was a blue and green ball that Jake recognized as Earth. It's all the species in the galaxy, Sarah explained. My teacher said they're all friends now because of what you did. Jake stared at the drawing. It was simple, childish, but it captured something important. It showed the future that humanity had helped create. It's beautiful, Sarah. Daddy, are you going to keep helping them? The aliens, I mean. Jake looked at his daughter's face on the screen. She was asking him to choose between his family and his duty. But as he looked at her drawing, he realized there was no choice to make. Yes, sweetheart, I'm going to help them. Because helping, that means helping you too. Sarah smiled. Good, that's what heroes do. After the call ended, Jake walked to the communication station and sent a message to President Bennett. Madam President, this is Commander Harrison. I accept the position of ambassador. When do I start? 3 years later, Jake stood in the council chambers of the Galactic Freedom Coalition. Representatives from hundreds of species sat in a great circle, debating the future of their shared galaxy. Today, they were discussing the Zephyrian Rehabilitation Program. Many former Zephyrians had requested help learning to think as individuals. It was slow work, but progress was being made. Jake looked up at the viewing gallery, where his family sat watching. Sarah was 12 now, and she often came to watch the council meetings. She said she wanted to be an ambassador too when she grew up. Ambassador Harrison, called out the council speaker, a tall blue alien from the Vortani Republic. Earth's opinion on the proposal? Jake stood up. Earth supports the rehabilitation program. We believe every being has the right to choose their own path, even former enemies. There were murmurs of agreement from around the chamber. The proposal would pass by a wide margin. After the session ended, Jake walked outside with his family. The coalition headquarters was on a beautiful world called Haven, where the air was clean and the sky was always blue. "Daddy," Sarah asked, "do you ever miss the war?" Jake thought about the question. "I miss the people we lost, but I don't miss the fighting." "Do you think there will be another war? Maybe someday. But if there is, we'll face it together." "All of us?" Sarah nodded seriously. Then she pointed up at the sky, where ships from a dozen different species were